Can one of you guys grab the
All right, we're back on the record on State versus Lloyd. He's present with his attorney. State Attorney's Office is present. I'm going to have the witness loosen the bottom of her mask to see if we can't increase the volume, because she keeps pulling on it. It's way too tight. That's why she's having trouble. The jurors are indicating they can't hear her.
Somebody from the gallery indicated that might not be on. Might not be on.
The mic is on.
Sure it is, but
Yeah, that mic is on. I'm not sure that it's in a great position, but we're going to try this just to make her more comfortable. Ms. Bryant, the jurors, have a seat. The jurors are having a little bit of trouble hearing you, so I want you to loosen the bottom of the mask a little bit.
Okay.
We're going to adjust this and try it and see if we can't get your volume up a little.
Okay. Uh-oh, I think I taught him on it.
Don't worry, we have plenty of time.
Okay.
All right, now try saying something.
Something.
Yeah, that's not working very well.
Okay.
Hit the mic, just, it's on. Try pulling the mic down further.
Is
Now,
this better?
Tom. Nope, that's actually worse.
Better now?
Is that better? Can you all hear her better?
No?
No?
Do I just need to talk louder?
Talking louder always helps, yes.
Okay.
All right, thanks. Are the jurors ready, or do they need a few more minutes? All right, let's bring the jury back in.
Jury enter.
State recognized presence of the jury.
We do, Your Honor.
Defense? Yes. All right. I've asked Ms. Bryant to speak up a little bit. We've loosened her mask. Hopefully you'll be able to hear her. If you can't, raise your hand at me, okay? All right, Mr. Linneman, you may resume.
Ma'am?
Yes, sir.
I had asked you a question about whether when you saw his gun and her gun, you got down. Remember that?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And I think you said something like you weren't sure, didn't remember. If I show you your statement, would that refresh your recollection?
Yes, sir.
May I approach the witness, Judge?
Yes, sir.
I'm referring to page 4, interview 1. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I 2, I believe.
Okay.
just let me know when you're done.
I'm finished. Yes, sir.
Okay. Did that refresh your recollection?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So, when you saw his gun and her gun, you got down, correct?
Yes, sir.
Now, when you were in the store, you recognized Mr. Loyd, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And one of the things you noticed was that he was wearing a dark black, I guess, pullover that says security.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now, before you recognized who he was, did you think he was security?
You said before I didn't pay attention to the,
Okay,
if that makes
okay,
sense. I didn't pay attention. I mean, that part didn't stick out to me at that time, the security.
okay.
So-
And he was wearing something on his head?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And he was in dark clothing?
A dark shirt. Yes, sir.
It appeared to you that he was trying to conceal his identity. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
Now, you don't know where you were standing when Mr. Loyd fired his shots. Is that correct?
In the parking lot, but I can't tell you exactly where.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
And you hid behind a car, isn't that correct?
Either on the, behind the car or on the side of the car. It was cars in the parking lot. At that time, I was walking through to get back to my vehicle. At some point, I did end up behind a car, but at that time, I can't tell you because I was trying to get back to the car where exactly I was.
So were you hiding behind a car or not?
Eventually, yes.
Now, did you receive some housing as part of this process you were involved in?
Did I receive housing?
Yeah.
No.
Nothing from the state,
No, sir.
police?
No, sir.
Okay. And it's true after you got down, you didn't see anymore, correct?
I got down, but I still was peeping up, if that makes sense. So I did come down and look back up.
Now, in the same next statement that you gave, when the police came and Detective Cadiz questioned you, that was the first time you mentioned to them that Detective Clayton said to get on the ground.
If that's what the statement says, then yes.
Isn't it true that you actually heard one shot then a delay, and then a number of shots.
I don't remember.
Would your deposition given on September 11, 2019 on page 23 refresh your recollection?
If I can see it.
Okay, may I approach, Judge?
Yes, sir.
You got it? Just let me know when you're done, ma'am.
Yes, sir.
That refresh your recollection?
Yes, sir.
So you heard one shot, and then you heard others after a delay?
That's what I said.
Okay. You never said anything to Detective Clayton about a potential shoplifter.
No, I did not.
The conversation you had with her was specifically about your knowledge regarding Mr. Loyd, the fact that he was wanted, and you told her that information, correct?
Yes, sir.
And based on that information, as far as you know, that's why she approached Mr. Loyd.
I can't tell you. You said based on my information?
On your information. You didn't hear anything on the radio between...
I couldn't hear it because I was
Okay.
walking away. I
So you don't
can't
have
tell.
knowledge whether there was or wasn't conversation about Mr. Loyd having a warrant,
There was a
correct?
conversation because I heard, she mentioned her name over the radio, but I can't
Right.
tell you word for word what was said.
Okay. But besides the name and whatever conversations you had, putting her conversation aside, because we're going to hear it in a little while. Not with you, I'm sorry. There's a radio call. It's your understanding that you presented the information to her that she was acting on.
I presented the information to her.
Okay. Those are all the questions I have, Judge.
All right, thank you, Mr. Williams. Redirect. Mr. Williams?
Thank you, ma'am.
You're welcome, sir.
Ms. Bryant, would you agree with me that you cannot definitively say who fired the first shot?
No, sir.
No, you can't say, or, so yes, you would agree with me? That you
Oh,
can't.
yes, I would agree. I'm sorry.
Okay, that's okay. It's one of those lawyer double negative type of things. When you were being asked questions about the two interviews, you made the statement that there was a lot going on that day.
Yes,
Where did your first interview take place?
in the parking lot.
Which parking lot?
Oh, Walmart, I'm sorry.
Right? And how long approximately after you observed the shooting were you interviewed?
Immediately, I would say.
Within a few minutes?
Yes, sir.
Were you still upset?
Very. Yes, sorry.
The second interview occurred at your home?
Yes, sir.
Was it the same day?
Yes, sir.
I believe you said that you had just gotten home or not long had gotten home before that?
Yes, sir.
So would you say within 2 hours?
Yes.
Did anyone from law enforcement ever suggest to you what you should say in your interview?
No, sir.
That's all I have, Judge. Thank you.
Thank you. May this witness be excused? State.
She may be excused and released by the state of Florida. Yes, Your Honor.
Defense. Yes. All right, thank you, ma'am. You are free to go.
You're
You're freed
welcome.
from the subpoena. All right, call your next witness.
Your Honor, the state calls Timothy Stevens.
What? Yeah, they know that. They know that. They're not. think they got the opening. No, they didn't bring him up in his opening. I wanna call him today. Yeah, I'm trying to.
Do you solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Have a seat, sir. Are we good? Turn it off. All right. Attorneys, please turn your mics off when you're at your tables because we can hear some conversations. Mr. Williams, you may inquire.
Thank you, Your Honor. Good morning, sir. Could you please tell us your full name and spell your last name?
My name is Timothy Stevens, Stephens.
All right, so now you're the second witness that I can barely hear, so you're going to have to lean into that mic and elevate your voice, okay?
No problem.
Mr. Stevens, in what city do you currently reside?
In Kissimmee.
And are you currently employed?
Yes, sir.
Where do you work and how long have you worked there?
I work for Carvana. I've worked there for about 7 months.
Prior to Carvana, where did you work?
I worked for Lowe's on Good Homes Road in Orlando.
What did you do for Lowe's?
I was the asset protection and safety manager.
I want to take you back to January of 2017. Where were you employed back in January of 2017?
Walmart.
And what was your job title at Walmart?
I was the asset protection manager.
Can you explain to the members of the jury what your duties entailed as the asset protection manager for Walmart?
I was in charge of anything safety. I was in charge of shrink, theft, internal theft, external theft. I had a team of undercovers that would walk the floor. I was in charge of doing their schedules, hiring, and disciplinary actions and stuff like that.
Now, which Walmart did you work at which store location back in January of 2017?
The one on Princeton.
And how long did you work at the specific store on Princeton Street?
I don't remember the exact date, but about a couple years.
Okay. While you were working at the Princeton Street Walmart, did you become familiar with the store's layout,
Yes, sir.
including the interior front of the store?
Yes, sir.
Did you also become aware and familiar with the surveillance camera system at that Walmart store?
Yes, sir.
Can you give us an overview of that surveillance system, the number of cameras and how it works, that sort of thing?
Hold on one second. Can the jury hear him? Over in the corner, can you all hear him? Kind of, but not really. Can you speak up a little bit louder, please?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. Go ahead, Mr. Sorry.
As asset protection manager, the camera system had about 125 cameras, give or take. They're called PTZs, the pan, tilt, zoom. There's a joystick so you can move them around, zoom in on some of those cameras, not all of them. Most of them are just fixed to one location, and the DVR systems are set up in the roof rafters so that way they're not in our office or anything like that.
So when you say DVR, does that mean that surveillance system had the ability to not only view in live time, but record for posterity?
Yes, sir.
DVR systems, did each camera have a recording DVR?
Yes.
Right. How often would you use that camera system when you were the asset protection manager?
Daily.
So
Every day.
did you have a daily routine when you came into the store that involved the camera system?
Yes. So, as the asset protection manager, I was also in charge of making sure all the cameras worked. And if they didn't, I would do the work order for them. So every day when I came in, I would go through each camera one by one and make sure that they were on and functioning. And they weren't like dirty or had like cobwebs or something in them.
You did that every single day?
Yes, sir.
What time, or what was your regular shift, if you had one, back in January of 2017?
7 in the morning till 5 at minimum.
Was that a Monday through Friday?
It was a rotating schedule, so it would be Monday, Wednesdays off, and then I'd work like a Saturday or a Sunday.
Was there ever a time that you can recall where there were several cameras not functioning at once?
Not really. I mean, we'd get a couple get knocked out during like thunderstorms, but for the most part, they were pretty functioning.
Did you take any steps or efforts to make sure that the time stamps on the cameras were accurate?
Yeah, so along with checking to make sure that the cameras worked, we would pull up a live shot to make sure that the recording time and the actual time matched.
And when you say the actual time, what did you check the recording time on the surveillance video against?
Either the time on the computer or the time on our phones.
And you did that every day?
Yes, sir.
I want to take you back now to the morning of January 9th of 2017. Were you working that morning?
Yes, sir.
Now, you told us a moment ago that your normal shift was around 7 a.m. Do you recall approximately what time you arrived on the morning of January 9th of 2017?
Approximately like 6:45.
All right. Was that routine for you?
Yeah, I like to get there a little early so that way I can get, in my office, get it opened up, get the computers on, start like that. I was salary, so I didn't have to clock in or out. So it was kind of just show up there and get to work.
On that morning specifically, did you check all the cameras to ensure that they were functional?
Yes, sir.
Do you recall there being any cameras out of service or not functioning that morning?
Not that I recall.
Did you check the timestamp on the morning of January 9th?
Yes, sir.
And was the timestamp and the date on the cameras accurate?
Yes, sir.
A couple more questions about the camera system. Where was this system where you were checking and accessing the cameras? Where was it located within the store?
It was in the front on the general merchandise side. In the front walkway, there's a side office for loss prevention. It's where we would take our detainees and process them. So it was like out of the way, out of the stuff, the store.
It sounds like it was an office?
Yeah, it was like it was pretty much an office, like I was to say 10 by 10 room.
Right. Simple questions. Was there a lock on the door?
Yes.
Did any customer from Walmart or anybody else for that matter have the ability to access that room?
No, only salaried members of management and the undercover team had keys to that room.
So it had a key lock on it?
Yes, sir.
Right. The system itself, was it password protected?
Yes, sir.
And who had access to that password?
Myself, my undercovers, and other salaried members of management.
Based upon your morning routine and review of the system on the morning of January 9th of 2017, did you see any problems whatsoever with the surveillance camera system?
No, sir.
Did there come a point on that morning where you became aware that an incident had occurred at your store?
Yes, sir.
Without saying what was told to you, what was it that brought it to your attention? What did you hear or see?
I heard the gunshots.
Right? Do you remember how many gunshots you heard?
I do not.
Where were you within the store when you heard the gunshots?
I was in the front general merchandise exit by my office, pretty much.
All right. Did you see anything that had to do with the shooting itself?
No, sir.
So you were inside and that was going on outside?
Yes, sir.
All right. At some point, were you asked by law enforcement to access your surveillance camera system?
Yes, sir.
Describe how that process worked, how they came to you, and what it was that you did to ensure that any surveillance video that was captured was provided.
Once I realized what was going on, I went to the office, started pulling all the cameras I could that had pertained to the subject, and just followed it around, backtracked from when he got into the car to when he checked out, and I just started pulling all the cameras. And then the officers came in and wanted to see the video, so that way I had it already pulled up for them.
So did you begin this process even prior to law enforcement arriving?
Yes, sir.
How did you know what the person of interest or the suspect looked like or was wearing?
I saw the subject through the camera system in the car. So like as I was in my office, I just pulled up, see what happened in that general facility, saw him go to his car and leave, and then I just start backtracking from there.
And when you say leave, you mean leave the scene after the shooting?
Yes, sir.
Right. And so are you telling us that you looked at every camera that was available during the relevant time frame
Yes, sir.
to ensure that anywhere that he went, you had a video for law enforcement?
Yes, sir.
Right. Now, you said at some point law enforcement arrived. Did you provide that video to law enforcement?
Yes, sir.
How did you go about doing that, like the actual practical, technical part of it?
So I pulled up each shot from when he was entering to when he left, and they watched every step every camera, if he went into like a side angle where he was, even if it was just shoes, I showed him that part. So pretty much every camera that had a part of his body, they saw every video.
Did you ever provide them a copy of that surveillance video?
I did.
And what medium did you provide it through, if you
disc.
recall?
I gave him a disc of all the cameras, all the recordings.
And were you sure to provide anything that you thought might have the suspect or something pertaining to the case on it?
Yes, sir.
Before you resume questioning, are you all is it easier for you to hear him, or do you need the mic turned up higher? Higher? Okay, thank you. We'll continue adjusting while you question. Go ahead, Mr.
Your Honor, may I approach the witness what's been marked as State's Exhibit C and shown to counsel?
You may.
Mr. Stevens, I'm going to hand you a disc. It's been marked as Exhibit C. Could you look at the exterior of the disc and tell me if you recognize it?
Yes, sir.
And how do you recognize that disc?
This is like the typical way that we would package our discs for any shoplifter or anything like that. It would be in like something like this.
All right, now do you recognize any writing on the outside of it?
I do.
And do you see your signature and a date?
I do.
And on that date, on the disc, did you watch the content of that video?
I did.
And is the video on that disc video from the surveillance system your store on January 9th of 2017?
Yes, sir.
Does that video fairly and accurately depict the video that you took or recovered from your surveillance system on that day?
Yes, sir.
Your Honor, at this time, we'd ask the court to admit State's Exhibit C as State's 4.
Any objections? Stand up. What's the question? Your mic's off. You got to turn it on.
Can I voir dire the witness,
You may.
just briefly? How are you doing, sir?
Good. How are you?
The video that you viewed that was presented to you by the state is just a partial piece of a longer video, correct?
Correct.
So each of the cameras, you captured a time period, whether it be an hour and a half, correct?
Correct.
And that's only what they consider a relevant period.
Correct. Whatever showed him, like if he was at a register for 20 minutes, I did that whole 20 minutes.
Okay, nothing further. No
Any
objection.
All right, this will be received without objection as State's Exhibit 4. Are you intending on publishing?
Not with this witness, Your Honor.
Okay.
That's all the questions I have. Thank you, sir.
Cross? Is this witness free to go? State?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, sir, you're free to go. Thank you very much. Call your next witness.
State calls Julia Johnson.
seat, sir. Or ma'am, sorry. You may inquire.
Thank you, Your Honor. Would you please introduce yourself to the jury?
My name is Julia Johnson.
Okay, ma'am, we are not going to be able to hear you. You're going to have to speak
Sorry.
way louder than that.
It's this mask, I'm sorry.
If you
I
can
know,
scoot-
they're pretty uncomfortable, so, thanks.
My name is Julia Johnson.
Okay, you can scoot up a little bit to the microphone and talk. This lady over here can hear you. Thank you.
My name is Julia Johnson.
All right, where do you work now?
I work at Amazon.
Okay. Where did you work before Amazon?
I worked at UPS and Walmart and Wawa.
All right. During what period of time did you work at Walmart?
I worked there from 2016 up until this year.
And which Walmart store did you work at?
The one on John Young in Princeton.
I want to direct your attention to the morning of January 9th of 2017, about 7:15 in the morning. Were you working that morning?
Yes, I was getting off of work.
And when did you finish your shift that morning?
I finished it a little late, around 7:09.
Okay. And how do you know it was 7:09?
Because I actually forgot to clock back in. To clock out for work. So I was going over and I had looked at the time and I had seen that I was late and I had forgot to clock out.
Okay. Do you actually have to go someplace to physically clock out?
Yes, I have to go to a time clock.
Okay. Once you finished your shift and clocked out at 7:09, where'd you go?
I went over to the garden center area because my homeboy was missing his friend and he had called me to see if she was over there. So I went all the way over there to see if she was over there.
Okay. Did you find your friend?
No, I did not.
After you walked down there to try to find your friend, what'd you do?
I walked back over to the entrance, the grocery entrance, and sat there and almost sat there and waited for my father to come pick me up.
Okay. As you were walking back to the grocery entrance, did you see anybody else that you knew or worked with?
Yes, I seen two people running over to the officer's car.
Okay. Did you know those people?
No, I do not. They were customers.
Did you see any other employees that you knew?
No. Well, actually, yes, I did. I did see Ms. Liz at, when I was waiting for my dad at the bench, I did see her.
Okay, and where was she, where were you when you saw Liz?
She was coming and walking past Ms. Debra Clayton's car.
Okay. Outside of the store?
Yes, sir.
May I approach the witness, Your Honor?
You may.
Showing you what's been marked as State's Exhibit 2 in evidence. You recognize that diagram?
Yes, I do.
What generally does this diagram show?
It's showing basically the grocery entrance and how the layout of Walmart is.
Okay. May I see anything, Your Honor?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, you can.
You said after you clocked out at 7:09, you left Walmart. Did you walk out the doors to the grocery entrance?
Yes,
In which direction did you go, if you just point in the diagram?
I went this way.
Okay, and that's when you were looking for your friend?
Yes, sir.
After you couldn't find your friend, did you walk back to the same grocery entrance doors?
Yes, sir. And I stood right here.
All right. You mentioned there was an officer's car located nearby.
Yes,
Where in the diagram would her car have been?
Right over here. Literally, she parks literally right over here next to the last two pillars over there by the pharmacy entrance, drive-through.
Okay. Can you describe her car, the officer's car?
It was just a regular patrol OPD car, a regular patrol SUV car.
Was it an SUV, you said?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Did you see the officer who was associated with that car?
Yes, I did.
Do you know who it was?
Yes, I do.
What was her name?
Miss Debra Clayton.
Okay. And how did you know Miss Debra Clayton?
She comes into the store almost every day and shops before her shift.
Did you see her inside Walmart that morning while you were working?
Yes, I walked past her
How was she dressed?
in her uniform.
Okay. Can you describe the uniform?
Had the belt, accessories to go with it, like she was ready for anything, for anything.
Was it obvious to anyone that she was a law enforcement officer based on her uniform and how she was dressed?
Yes, sir.
So after you clocked out, you went down and checked for your friend and came back to the entrance.
Yes, sir.
Did you see Lieutenant Clayton by her patrol car?
At that time, she was by her car, and the other two people were next to her.
Okay. Describe what you saw about how those other two people came to be in contact with Lieutenant Clayton.
They ran from the grocery entrance, and they ran to her car while she was putting stuff in her car.
Can you describe those two people, male, female, the race?
I believe they were both male. One was a child and one was a man.
Okay. Did you walk up and talk to them at all, or just see them from a little bit of a distance?
I saw them from a distance.
But you said one was a child?
Yes.
After you saw Lieutenant Clayton with that adult and that child, where did you go?
I sat right there, and I was going to wait for my father, but I seen Miss Liz, and we both walked inside because she was running late.
So you walked inside Walmart, that entrance, with Liz?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, sir.
That's okay. As you were walking into the entrance with Liz, did you pass anybody coming out?
Yes, I did.
Describe what happened and what you saw.
Well, I was going to sit down, and Miss Liz was like, come on, let's go inside because I'm late. So I walked in with her, and we walked past Markeith, and we both said good morning. And then I told her I was going to walk back outside, and then that's when all the commotion happened.
Okay. You mentioned the name Markeith.
Yes.
Did you know Markeith prior to that day?
No.
Do you see the person you know as Markeith here in court?
Yeah.
Okay. Can you please point him out and tell me what he's wearing and where he's sitting?
He's sitting in the middle, over there on the left-hand side, and he has dreads and a blue mask on.
Your Honor, may the record reflect the witnesses identified the defendant?
Okay.
How was the defendant dressed when you saw him walking out of Walmart?
He had on a security shirt, and he was carrying a cart, and he had on some baggy pants.
Describe the security shirt. What color?
It was a black shirt that had security either on the front or the back of it. I'm pretty sure it had it on the front.
Do you remember what color the word security was in?
It was white.
You said he was pushing a cart?
Yes, sir.
Did you have any conversation with the defendant?
Me and Miss Liz both said good morning to him, and he said, how are you doing?
After you walked into the store and the defendant walked past you walking out of the store, did you hear some kind of a commotion?
Yes, I heard Debra Clayton said, stop, freeze, or get on the ground, and that's when Markeith took off.
Okay. How were you able to see that based on your position inside Walmart?
Because after we passed the second double doors, before I was going ahead and past Subway, I told Miss Liz, hey, I got to go ahead and go back outside. I got to wait for my dad. And as soon as I turned around, that's when I seen everything happen.
Okay. So you're walking in the store and you turned around and you're now looking outside of the store through the doors?
Yes, sir.
Okay. You said you heard Lieutenant Clayton say, get down, stop, or something to that effect?
Yes, sir.
And after she said that, you said Markeith Markeith bolted or something?
Yes, sir. He ran from his cart.
Okay. He ran from his cart?
Yes, sir.
Meaning he left the cart and
Yep,
ran
he left
away
that
from it?
cart and he took off.
If you're walking out of the doors of Walmart, after Lieutenant Clayton said stop or get down, did he bolt to the right or to the left?
He bolted to the left.
About how far away were you from Lieutenant Clayton when you heard her say get down or stop or whatever it was you heard?
I want to say at least probably 10, 15 feet.
Okay, about the distance we are right now?
A little bit further, but yeah,
A little further away?
a little bit further to the right.
Okay.
Yeah.
So Lieutenant Clayton yells, get down, the defendant bolts to the left. What did you then see Lieutenant Clayton do?
Run after him.
Okay, which direction?
Same direction he ran, to the left.
After she followed him to the left, were you able to see either Lieutenant Clayton or the defendant anymore?
No, sir.
After they both ran to the left, did you hear anything?
Yes, sir.
What'd you hear?
I heard one gunshot, and then after that, after 5 seconds later, I heard 7 shots.
Were you able to actually see with your eyes who fired the first shot?
No, sir.
Based on how things transpired and where people were and the sounds you heard, do you have an opinion as far as who fired the first shot?
Yes, sir. Debra Clayton fired her first shot,
Okay.
and then Markeith Loyd fired the rest of the shots.
And is that based on some assumptions you were making about what sound you heard and where things came from?
Yes, sir.
After you heard that first gunshot, what did you do?
I froze. I stood there, and usually they train us for us to tell us where to go. I froze. I stood right there in front of the berry table. I didn't know what to do. I just seen managers start running up to the door, and me being stupid, I almost tried to run up to the door, but I stood in my spot.
So you hear the gunshot, you freeze. Are you still in that frozen position when you hear the other gunshots as well?
Yes.
Okay. At some point after the gunshots are over, what did you do?
I called my father. I told him, don't come up here. They are shooting. And I remember calming down another associate. And then that's when I realized it hit me that if I would have stood out there, I would have been in the crossfire of that commotion. And so that's when I ran to customer service, and I got on my knees, and I thanked the Heavenly Father for saving my life.
Okay. Did you ever go back outside Walmart until after the police had arrived and everything was done and over with and secured?
No, sir, I didn't go back out.
So you stayed inside Walmart?
Yes, sir.
When you first saw the defendant as you were passing him, did he, as you were walking in with Liz and he was walking out, he look familiar at all to you?
Yeah, a little bit.
Okay. At the time, were you able to pinpoint why he looked a little familiar?
No, I couldn't. At that time, no, I could not.
After the shooting, while you were inside Walmart, did you come to figure out how you recognized him?
Yes.
Okay. How did you recognize him?
After they put us all into the back room, another boss had mentioned his name, and then my girlfriend at the time came to me and asked me, was that him? And I told her to show me a picture of him. And once I seen the picture, I walked off because I knew it was him.
Okay. Returning fire?
Yes, sir.
Objection, leading.
Sustained.
Move to strike.
Denied. Go ahead.
After the defendant fired the first shot, did Lieutenant Clayton then fire shots?
Yes, sir.
Do you remember about how many shots in total were fired?
As far as Lieutenant, I want to say about 5 to 8 rounds.
Did you see how Lieutenant Clayton ended up in, when you saw Lieutenant Clayton in the middle of the roadway area, was she standing or was she on the ground?
Standing.
Okay. After you saw her in the middle of the road area, what did you see Lieutenant Clayton do?
I saw her fall.
After she fell, describe what happened.
I ran across the parking lot, over the hedges, jumped over the hedges, and I ran to her. I kept looking at Markeith. I didn't know if he was going to turn around. He still had the gun in his hand. And I ran up to her. My heart just went out to her. I couldn't drive off.
Let me,
Sustained.
that's okay.
Ma'am, just answer the question that you're being asked. Thank you. Go ahead.
After Lieutenant Clayton went to the ground, where was the defendant when she went to the ground?
Getting in the car.
Okay. You said getting in the car? Where was his car parked in relation to where Lieutenant Clayton was?
I want to say about anywhere from 10 to 15 feet away from her body.
Were you inside your car the entire time this was happening?
No, sir.
At what point, back up, did you get out of your car at some point?
Yes, sir.
When?
Right when they started scuffling.
And why'd you get out of your car?
'Cause I knew something wasn't right.
At any time, did you see the defendant near Lieutenant Clayton when Lieutenant Clayton was on the ground?
Yes.
Describe what you saw.
When he was shooting, he was just shooting and walking, and he just kept shooting her when she was on the ground.
Okay.
Excuse me. And he just, like the way he looked at her, and he just kept walking and went on to the car.
Go ahead and try to answer the questions I'm asking you.
All right. Ma'am, don't interject your opinion, just state facts, all right? Thank you.
All right, sorry.
So, she was on the ground and he was standing and he shot her. Am I
Right.
correct? After that, is that when he went to his car?
Yes, sir.
What kind of car do you remember him getting in?
It was an old school Oldsmobile, I believe. It was an old school car.
Remember if it was a light or dark color?
Hunter green body, and it had like a drop top or a rag top, cream colored on the top.
As the defendant was walking to his car and getting in the car, is that when you started walking from your car to where Lieutenant Clayton was located?
No, sir.
Okay. At what point did you start walking from your car where Lieutenant Clayton's car was? Or Lieutenant Clayton was, excuse me.
After the shooting stopped.
Okay. What did you see the defendant do once he got into that dark-colored car?
Just back up slowly and drive off.
Remember which direction he drove?
He went as if you're driving, he went to the front entrance as if you're going towards Mercy Drive from that Walmart.
At some point, did you get to Lieutenant Clayton?
Yes.
Did anybody else arrive near Lieutenant Clayton when she was in the ground after all this happened?
2 other officers.
Okay. Did you arrive by her side before the officers did or after?
Yes, sir.
When you got to Lieutenant Clayton's side, what was she doing?
Overrule.
Looking at me and trying to get to her walkie-talkie
And where was her walkie-talkie?
up on her shoulder.
Okay. Was she talking or saying anything or trying to talk to you?
Trying.
Did you see any injuries to her?
Yes.
What'd you see?
A hole in her neck.
I have no further questions for you, ma'am. Thank you, Your Honor.
Cross.
Good morning, ma'am. It's important to you, ma'am, to be able to help these gentlemen here, these prosecutors in this case. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
You have to speak up.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. And as a matter of fact, 3 years after this incident, occurred, isn't it true that you remembered that additional thing that she said was stop?
Yes, sir.
And when you were asked in deposition about that, you said that the only reason you're remembering it now is because you were in shock then.
Page and line, please.
I'm not impeaching her, Judge. I'm
You
asking
still
a
need
question.
to give us the page and line on the
Oh,
depo.
yeah, it's on deposition, page 21.
Thank you.
Isn't it true that you said you remembered now because you were shaking up in shock?
Yes, sir.
And today, you came in and swore under oath to tell the truth. Is that right, ma'am?
Yes, sir.
And I heard you distinctly say that you vaguely remember the discussion between Ms. Bryant and Lieutenant Clayton. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
You said here in court. Right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And when you first observed Lieutenant Clayton and Miss Bryant talking, you believed that they were talking about someone stealing. Is that right?
No, sir.
Okay. Would anything refresh your recollection about that, like your deposition or your statement?
No, sir.
So if I give you something to read right now in a statement that you had given before, you're telling this jury that that will not refresh your recollection?
No, sir.
Isn't it true that you heard Ms. Bryant saying there's a gentleman in the store stealing? She said he might be getting ready to come out, but he was, you see him and I don't. Sounded like she said he had something on him, but other than that, I did. Remember saying that?
No, sir.
I'm referring to page 5 of her statement. You were asked the following questions.
Line.
There's no line, Judge. It begins the question, okay, what was she saying?
All right, thank you.
You were asked the question by Detective Pereira, Orlando Police Department. And he asked you the question, oh, okay, what was she saying? Your response was, there's a gentleman in the store stealing. She said he might be getting ready to come out, but he was, we see him, and I don't. Sounded like she said he had something on him, but other than that, I didn't. Remember giving that statement after oath, ma'am?
No, sir.
And I'm not trying to be rude, ma'am, at all, I promise, but have you had any kind of injury that would have impaired your memory between the
No,
Walmart
sir.
incident and now?
No, sir.
And isn't it true that you had your window down and you were being nosy?
Yes, sir.
So you were listening to what they were saying?
Couldn't hear, but yes, sir.
Isn't it true that she observed someone in the store shoplifting?
No, sir.
You gave a statement to the police under oath where you swore to tell the truth, like today, correct?
Yes, sir.
And you were asked the following questions on page 6 at the very top. Question, that's okay, just don't want you to lose it. She was, so you had your window down and you heard, and your answer was, she observed someone in the store shop. Do you remember
sir.
giving that statement, ma'am?
No, sir.
And you mentioned that you could not see a portion of this because you were blocked by some bushes or a tree, something
Yes,
like
sir.
that?
Yes, sir.
Isn't it true that you never observed any kind of chase from Lieutenant Clayton after going after Markeith Loyd?
Can you repeat that question again?
Isn't it true that you never observed any chase from Lieutenant Clayton going after Markeith Loyd?
No, sir.
It's not true, or it is true?
No, sir. It's not true.
Remember giving a deposition on February 18, 2020, page 17, line 16. Question, did you see her give chase to him? Answer, no, there was no chase. Do you remember giving that statement?
Yes, sir.
So you did not see a chase?
Scuffle. I'm sorry. It wasn't, no, sir.
And when you say a scuffle, you're talking about at the front area where he comes out with the car.
Yes, sir.
That's what you're referring to.
Yes, sir.
You don't see her turn and run parallel to where Mr. Loyd is running with their arm extended with the gun in chase.
No, sir.
Well, if you didn't see her chasing with her gun out, and you said that at the door she had her hand on her gun, when did you see her with the taser?
During the scuffle, when they had the scuffle, that's when I thought it was a taser until she came out and she was standing in the road. And that's when I seen her gun. I thought it was a taser. I'm sorry, I was tired that morning.
But you testified earlier that when she was there in front of him, when he's coming out, she had her hand on her gun,
As she walked towards the door.
and she didn't have it out.
No,
So when is it that you saw her with a taser?
Objection, ask and answer.
Sustain.
Do you know how many shots, Detective? I know you estimated between 5 and 8. You know how many shots she actually fired?
actually, no, sir.
You said that Mr. Loyd fired more. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
Do you know actually how many he fired?
No, sir.
I'm almost done, Judge.
Okay.
I don't have any further questions. Thank you,
Thank
Judge.
you, Mr. Roy. Redirect, Mr. Buxman.
When the lady and the small child walked up and approached Lieutenant Clayton, were you able to hear all the details of the conversation or just kind of get a general gist of it?
No, sir.
The statement that Mr. Lenneman referred to, that you gave to law enforcement,
Yes, sir.
where was that statement given?
In the camera room.
At Walmart?
Yes, sir.
You remember about how long after this event it took place?
I say about 10, 15 minutes after it happened.
So shortly after it happened, you were brought into the camera room
Yes,
and you were
sir.
spoken to?
Once police arrived.
Okay. Thank you, ma'am.
May this witness be excused. State?
Yes, Your Honor.
Defense? All right, thank you, ma'am. You are free to go. All right. Folks, this is a perfect time for lunch, so we're going to take a break. We'll resume testimony at 1:30. Your lunch is here and ready for you. Enjoy it. We'll see you after lunch. State, anything we need to address before lunch?
No, Your Honor.
Defense? All right, court's in recess.